Hi, I'm Michael Mitchell. I am an interior designer. I've been doing this for 29 years. I'm based in Charleston, South Carolina. We work nationally. To date, we've worked in 34 different states. I have a 12,000 square foot showroom here in Charleston, and we sell everything from rugs to original art to antiques to furnishings to wallpaper. I'm a Farrow and Ball dealer. I've built out my store to encompass everything that I possibly need to do a project. I actually started doing interior design as a small child. My grandmother had a slipcover and drapery workroom. My mother was always very fashionable and dressed beautifully. And so style and grace and putting rooms together has sort of been part of my family culture. So I have literally been around this since I was a very little boy. I actually went to school for business. That's what my degree is in. I did not go to school for interior design. As I said, I've been around it my entire life. And when I started doing this, the way to do it was to get a business degree. Yes, you could go to design school, but in my family, we're all self-employed, and it was very much focused that I would have to get a business degree. I actually got into Parsons, but I did not go. And I probably should have, but I didn't do it. I've been doing this professionally since I got out of college. My first job was doing interior design actually in a very, very large retail store. And then from there, I went to work at a firm, and from there, I went to work at another firm in New York. And while in New York, I branched out on my own, and I have been working for myself since 2004, doing this. And in my career, I've actually done everything from hospitals to funeral homes to yachts to tiny apartments to 40,000 square foot houses. I've done senior living. There's probably not anything that I haven't already done. I never dreamed that I would be picking out vinyl flooring for an operating room, or that I would be setting up a room that would do casket displays. But we've literally done it all. I came home. I'm from Charleston. I'm a 16th generation South Carolinian, so I'm real. I was born here. I was raised here generationally. So I came home and I opened a pop-up shop. I did a 32-day event with 36 artists, and I teamed with 8 local charities in order to raise some money and also to make some. My goal in all of that was to make some money and go back to New York. Well, what I found in that was, remembering that I started off my career in retail, I actually really like talking to people. I'm basically hosting a cocktail party all day, every day when having a retail store, just meeting people, chatting. And so I found that to be fun. And again, I'm home. So I came home and I built my life back here. I hadn't been here since I left for college at 17, and I was really ready to come home, to be honest. Now, the joke in all of this, of course, is I actually still kept my apartment in New York and went on to get a bigger one. So I left New York so I could afford to live in New York, which I just think is hilarious. But that's how I ended up with the retail store. A pop-up shop turned into a nearly 14, well, it's been over 14 years now. It's been almost 15 that I've had the store. And the store, it evolved on its own. After 10 years, I was in a much smaller space. My lease was up, so I moved to a 12,000 square foot space and really expanded what we had, making it relatively easy to do projects right here. So now, instead of my clients meeting me at a design center, whether it's in Chicago or New York, if I'm working on a house and it's in Santa Rosa, California, they fly back here for their presentation because I have everything I need right here to work through it. If there's a problem or we need to change something, or there's a textile that doesn't resonate, we can move very quickly. So when people get back on the plane, their house is complete and ready to order. I have the largest fabric library that I've ever seen, because textiles are very important to me. Remember, I started in sewing and drapery workrooms with my grandmother. So, and being the Farrow and Ball dealer, so we certainly have paint. I sell Italian hardwood floors as well as domestic floors. We sell all the cabinet hardware from any brand that you could possibly imagine. Everything is here. So yes, I miss working in New York because I could source there. for sure. But also remember that I've worked in 34 states, so I'm traveling all over the country all the time shopping. And I go to Europe a few times a year to bring back containers of antiques. I go to a lot of trade shows, a lot of design centers. I'm not focused just on New York. I shop the D&D, I shop 200 Lex, but I also do ADAC in Atlanta. I like to shop in Chicago at their design center. The San Francisco Design Center is incredible on its own. Certainly Dallas is a whole nother ball game. So I work my way around the country, resourcing and finding things from everywhere because it's important. Like I was just in Palm Beach earlier this year. In February, I was down there for the Charleston-based showhouse. Well, I stayed 2 more days because I went through all of their resources down there and I shopped their antique sources because I find different things everywhere I go. So I have a very global perspective, even though I'm sourcing most of it right here. Well, I'm doing the work here anyway, but I have relationships all over the country and the globe looking for things because I just don't do flat interiors where everything looks the same. It was in 2018. And because I've been doing this for so long and I know what it's like to be the designer in a show house, now I know what it's like to be the owner in a show house. So I wrote my contract very, very differently than most show houses. You didn't return rooms back to me in white. You had to return them back to me in the colors that I wanted them in. So whereas the entrance hall had this beautiful coral wallpaper that Lindsay Coral Harper did. She's an amazing designer from New York. She's a Georgia girl. I love what she did, but it wasn't me. So it went back to being black with white trim. Now to say that though, is anything that was installed, I had to approve it. The stair runner, she and I selected that together because it was going to be installed and it is still there. Show houses are a circus. They're chaotic from room to room. They don't go, they don't work. So, you have to do some things to make sure that you can tie all those points together. So in saying that, I chose a standard trim color. I chose certain things that had to be the rooms that were installed, bathrooms, any sort of molding, anything like that. Anything that Michael had to write the check for, Michael had to approve. High Point is important for our entire industry. I carry over 400 brands in my showroom, so there's a lot of work that I have to do when I go to market. Market for me is a 6-day event. I'm there for quite a long time. I have appointment after appointment after appointment. And I think that High Point is super important to go to for lots of reasons. 1, there's inspiration. 2, you get to meet other designers and other folks from the industry around the country. The reason that piece is super important is it provides you with a network. So when I say I have a network, for instance, I just did a house in Manhattan Beach out in Los Angeles. I know a designer who I met in High Point. I've known him for years because we play Hey, How Are You every time I go. And I reached out to him and I said, I've got this project in LA. He gave me a wallpaper hanger, a drapery workroom, a crew to do the install. Every piece and part that I needed, electrician, a painter, everything that I needed in order to get my job done there. And they were all excellent. He works at the same level that I do. He has the same amount of particularness that I do. And that's the sort of stuff that we get from going to shows. It's not just about the inspiration, it's also about the networking. I'm from the country. I'm actually from Johns Island, which I grew up about 35, 40 minutes from downtown. So while I have been around doing this kind of stuff my whole life, I'm also an avid boater. I grew up riding motorcycles. I miss my dirt bike. I'd love to have one right now to fly through the woods. I'm a hell of a shot. So I'm really, really pretty good with guns. So I grew up hunting, fishing, riding motorcycles, and I'm an Eagle Scout, and nobody expects me to be able to do any of those things. I can change my own motor oil, but I'm not going to. I have the skills to do a lot of things that I don't think a lot of people would expect.